The year is 2025. The war in Ukraine rages on. Deep beneath the ravaged landscape, a desperate plan unfolds. Russian General Alov, a hardened veteran of countless campaigns, prepares his men for a mission unlike any other. They are about to embark on a journey through a subterranean hellscape, a Soviet-era gas pipeline stretching for 15 kilometers. Their objective to emerge behind Ukrainian lines in a surprise attack. This is not a mission for the faint of heart. The pipeline is a claustrophobic nightmare, a steel coffin filled with the stench of methane and the ghosts of a bygone era. But Alov assures his men, many of them barely old enough to shave, that victory awaits them at the other end. They are the elite, the Spetsnaz, and they will break the back of the Ukrainian resistance. The Kremlin believes this audacious plan will turn the tide of the war. They are desperate for a victory, a decisive blow that will break the spirit of the Ukrainian people and force them to surrender. But the pipeline is a treacherous beast, and the Ukrainians are waiting. The soldiers enter the pipeline one by one, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of their headlamps. The air is thick with the metallic tang of blood and the ever-present threat of methane. Each step forward is a leap of faith into the unknown. Days turn into nights as the soldiers crawl through the darkness, their bodies aching, their minds on edge. The pipeline is not a straight shot to glory. It twists and turns, rises and falls, a labyrinth of cold, unforgiving steel. Some men succumb to the darkness, their minds shattered by the relentless pressure and the fear of the unknown. Methane leaks plague the pipeline, invisible killers that stalk the darkness. The soldiers cough and splutter, their lungs burning with each breath. The gas seeps into their minds, blurring their thoughts, amplifying their fears. They are trapped in a subterranean nightmare, their fate hanging by a thread.
The air, it's so thick I can't breathe. How much longer can we survive down here?
Each moment in the pipeline feels like an eternity. The soldiers, once confident and determined, now find themselves questioning their own sanity. The journey through hell continues, with no end in sight. Unbeknownst to Alov and his men, Ukrainian intelligence has been monitoring their every move. The whispers of discontent, the rumors of a daring plan, all intercepted and analyzed. When the Russians finally emerge from the pipeline, exhausted and disoriented, they walk into a carefully laid trap. The earth erupts with the roar of Ukrainian artillery. Shells rain down on the pipeline exits, turning the darkness into a blinding inferno of fire and steel. Soldiers scream as they are ripped apart by shrapnel, their bodies outlined against the flames like grotesque shadow puppets. Now! Hit them with everything we've got! Don't let a single one escape! But the Ukrainians are not content to simply shell the pipeline exits. Squads of Ukrainian special forces, armed with night vision goggles and a burning desire for revenge, move in for the kill. They engage the surviving Russians in close-quarters combat, their rifles spitting fire and fury in the darkness. The pipeline, once a symbol of Russian ambition, becomes a tomb for hundreds of Russian soldiers. Section 4. The Propaganda Machine. A general's lies. While his men are being slaughtered in the pipeline, General Alov is nowhere to be found. He has abandoned his post, fleeing the carnage and leaving his men to die. But back in Moscow, a different story is being told.
State-controlled media broadcasts images of Alov triumphantly entering a Ukrainian village, his chest adorned with medals, a smug smile on his face. He boasts of a crushing victory, of Ukrainian soldiers surrendering en masse, of the imminent collapse of the Kiev regime.
The disconnect between Alov's lies and the reality on the ground is staggering. While he basks in the fabricated glow of a non-existent victory, the bodies of his men lie rotting in the pipeline, a testament to his cowardice and the Kremlin's callous disregard for human life. The families of these soldiers will never know the truth about their deaths. Section 5. Turning the tide drones dominate the battlefield. The failed pipeline operation is a major turning point in the war. It exposes the limitations of Russia's outdated tactics and the growing technological gap between the two armies.
Ukraine's use of drones in particular has been instrumental in their success. Once seen as a novelty, drones have become a ubiquitous presence on the battlefield. They provide Ukrainian forces with unparalleled situational awareness, allowing them to track Russian movements, identify targets, and direct artillery fire with pinpoint accuracy.
The drones are also incredibly effective in offensive operations. Armed with anti-tank missiles and guided bombs, they can destroy Russian tanks, armored vehicles, and even helicopters with ease. The Russian military, still reliant on Cold War-era equipment and tactics, has no answer to this aerial threat. Section 6. The Fog of War. Truth as a casualty. The war in Ukraine is not just a battle for territory, it is also a battle for information. The Kremlin has invested heavily in propaganda, spreading disinformation and manipulating narratives to sow confusion and undermine support for Ukraine. In this age of social media and instant communication, it can be difficult to separate fact from fiction. The sheer volume of information, much of it contradictory or outright false, can be overwhelming. It is more important than ever to be critical of the information we consume and to rely on credible sources. We must be vigilant in our pursuit of truth, for the fog of war can obscure even the most obvious of realities. Section 7. A Glimmer of Hope, the Jeddah Peace Talks. As the war enters its third year, there is a glimmer of hope on the horizon. High-stakes peace talks are underway in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, between senior Ukrainian and U.S. officials. The talks are being seen as a crucial opportunity to find a diplomatic solution to the conflict.
President Zelensky, fresh off a visit to Riyadh where he met with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, has expressed cautious optimism about the talks. However, he has also stressed that Ukraine will not cede any territory to Russia.
The road to peace will be long and arduous. There are many obstacles to overcome, including Russia's intransigence and the deep mistrust that exists between the two sides. But the Jeddah talks represent a glimmer of hope in a conflict that has caused untold suffering and loss. The world watches and waits, hoping that diplomacy can prevail over violence, that reason can triumph over blood.